Good morning and hello and welcome from the AAO. I'm here with Lisa Alvetro. Lisa, how are you doing?
Excellent, thank you.
So Lisa's going to be my first guest, but first I want to just say this is the first time. I said first like 5 times. I think that a live stream has been done from the AAO exhibit floor, so that's kind of exciting. We're breaking new ground.
Privilege.
Yeah, and if there was someone that's done it before, don't tell me. I don't want to know. But we have a very special show. This is the first time that I've had 4 guests on the same episode. So that's pretty cool, and you were the first. So we'll have 4 today, 4 tomorrow. So 11:40 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow we'll do this again. And so today we have, of course, Lisa. If you don't know Lisa, you should know Lisa. And then next we'll have Katie Maassen, who's with the AAO. She's the Director of Marketing and Communications. Then we'll have Dr. Greg Jorgensen and Dr. Glenn Krieger, who are both stopping by to chat. Should be an amazing day. But first, we have to play our theme song. Now, you may not even know our theme song. It's okay if you don't, but no. It's okay. I know it very well. I've heard it many times now. But that was the theme song.
Excellent.
Yeah, okay. She's like, all right, so it was. Seriously though, thank you for coming on. Lisa is someone that I have looked up to for a long time. I remember as a resident that I wanted to know more about the Forsus, and so I went to a meeting. You did a little hands-on course. You were very kind to me. You helped me. We've spoken together a few times. We've had dinner together. She's a ton of fun. If you're ever around Lisa at like a dinner late at night, she's hysterical. So I don't know if we'll get some of that today at 11:40 in the morning, but it'll be fun regardless. So give me a quick rundown. Give me a quick bio. You know, where'd you go to school? Where are you now, etc.
Well, I went to dental school at Ohio State, and then I did my residency at Case Western Reserve. And I'm currently on faculty there.
Okay.
In part-time. And I've been in private practice now a little over 26 years.
Awesome.
And orthodontics is exciting. I get to meet great people and just love what I do. And I'm fortunate I've got a great team that supports me.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. So today you're speaking, which you got to realize for someone like Lisa, this is a busy, busy weekend. It's a busy weekend for me. I'm speaking twice. I'm doing 2 of these, and I have a concert tonight, and I'm sick. So I'll hopefully not get you sick. But Lisa's busy. She's at the 3M booth doing some stuff. She's also lecturing today at 1 o'clock in Petrie. Is it Petrie?
I think that's the way you say it.
Petrie, it's like a Petri dish. Petrie D on the topic of Class 2 correction and its impact on facial aesthetics. So tell me a little bit about what you're speaking about.
You know, it's a staff course, but also it's appropriate for doctors too. And Class 2 correction is really a passion of mine. Part of it, I practice in an area where we have a lot of Class 2 individuals, and it's amazing what you can do to create facial changes. So sometimes we get so involved with just the teeth, but really being able to plan, and particularly with young people, not only do you have the responsibility that you're aligning teeth, but you're changing their face, and then that changes how they interact with people. So I've been at it long enough that it's interesting to watch this, and that's part of what we're going to talk about, particularly for staff and for doctors, is like, how do you decide where do you want the teeth to end up, where do you want the face to end up? And then one of my passions is using Forsus to do that, because it's so versatile. A lot of people don't realize that you can put it different places in the mouth, you can use different wires, and you're just really dialing in the treatment response you want. So that's really what we're going to talk about, is how you can affect the face and why it's important to help kids navigate through this, because a lot of times you're dealing with teenagers, and we have, your kids are young, my kids are older.
Yeah, mine are not teenagers yet.
Yeah, and dealing with teenagers sometimes can be tough, but there's some things that I think we can do, and we can do with our staff to help make them successful.
Sure, right on. So there's a lot to unpack there. I do want to talk about the Forsus. Real quick before I go to this question of the Forsus, because I use it. I'll be honest, I struggle a little bit with it, so I have other after camera time. I have all these questions to ask you, like everyone else. Lisa, tell me how to use the Forsus. What are some different? You alluded to different places you can put it in the mouth to affect different things. I know one of those is open bite, but tell me a couple examples of that. How you use Forsus differently than just trying to fix an overjet.
A lot of times you combine your Forsus appliance with different wire selection. Say if you really need to intrude, if someone has a really gummy smile and you're going to need to intrude the anteriors, put your Forsus in with a reverse curve wire, because then you get really a lot of maxillary intrusion in the incisor, and then the Forsus rod is really counteracting that posterior extrusion you would get. So it's amazing how you can really lift up and retract at the same time with no patient cooperation. Well, I shouldn't say no. I guess they could take it out.
Yeah, right.
But
they can try.
Exactly.
They can try.
That's why you put a pin in those little kids.
Yeah, right.
Plug it down there. You can put it different places. You can, traditionally people would go to the cuspid. Then if you go to the bicuspid, it moves it back out of the way. You can even go to a second bicuspid if you really need to. If You need like a supercharged
open wide.
posterior hypoheadgear effect.
Uh-huh.
So, thinking about, that little spring, it's not magic, but it gives us those grams of force that we need, and then you can direct it vertically, horizontally, to get the treatment response you want. So.
Right on. Awesome. Well, I already learned something new. I always force myself to get to a TMA. I think I heard you say at least a TMA on the lower, and then a 20 or 18 rectangular night tie. What do you do now?
The smallest wire we'll use on the top is a 14.
Use a 14?
Yeah, sometimes 16.
You're blowing my mind.
Well, it depends.
Okay.
If you've got a lot of torque you want to get rid of, put a round wire in the top, cinch it, put your forces in, and it's like, then it is like magic. They just upright. But that's really the treatment effect you were looking for.
I hope y'all are getting this. This is great stuff. This is gold.
You can use anything in the top. The bottom just has to be rigid enough. So either like a beta or titanium. Don't try night tie in the bottom unless you want to try to intrude bicuspid.
You're going to get it pushed out and things. So do you always have the 7s on the lower when you're doing Forsus?
It really depends.
Okay. What would it depend on?
Well,
I'm asking all the detailed Forsus questions.
The thing is think about the maxillary second molar too. If you've got someone who has an open bite, a long vertical face height, lower second molar. So when it intrudes the first molar, it takes the second. Okay. If somebody is deep, has a decreased lower face height, or a flat mandibular plane, don't include the second molars because you actually don't want to intrude them. And even if you see some posterior extrusion from them being out of occlusion, that's how you can control lower face height. It has to do with second molars.
Okay.
Second molars on the bottom, you can include those either way. It's just sometimes access because you want to be able to really cinch that wire in the posterior.
So I feel like I'm back in geometry class as a 10th grader when they're talking about proofs and I have no idea what's going on. So you obviously...
Just give me a call.
Yeah, just can you come do my Forsus for me, my foresi? All right, so coffee mug, I have...
I never knew that was the plural Forsus.
Oh, is
foresi. It? You said foresi.
I was just guessing.
I like it.
Forsuses? I don't know, I think it's probably foresi. So my mug, I always have a mug. All right, so I have Rad Dad. Unfortunately, this was the best thing that we could find at Walgreens for coffee mugs. I have another crappy one tomorrow that I'll be drinking from. All right, let's do this about Forsus. I think we got a couple more minutes with Forsus. Give me 3 things you feel like doctors miss about Forsus, because I do think it is the sort of appliance you could use a few times and be like, I hate this thing. I'm going back to my Mara or my Herbst or whatever. What are some things doctors miss?
I think the misconception about Force is that you have to have rigid steel over steel wires, and that's where you miss out, because then you're getting into treatment too late. Yep. The best way to derotate a molar is put a Forsus in the maxillary. So I think people wait too late to get into it.
Yep, I do that.
And then they're overactivating the appliance, so they see the weird side effects. And and they're used to going behind the cuspid, where if you go behind the bicuspid, biomechanically, you don't have to put transpalatal arches, but overactivation is the thing, because when you first put it in, you're thinking, this can't do this. This is not enough. So I think that's where they miss out.
Okay.
Getting in too late, overactivation, and not being creative. There's not like a Forsus police. We're like, sorry, you can't do that. As long as it doesn't kill anybody, which we haven't.
You'd have to work really hard to kill somebody with a Forsus.
So I think that's, and I think too, waiting to not use it as, if you're using someone who's non-compliant all the time, you have a bad experience, because these people have already they've already shown
their stripes.
So this way, when you plan it in, patient acceptance is so much better.
It's great.
And shoot, I've got a lot of parents that were treated like with Herbst, and they're like, they laugh, they're like, that's it. I'm like, darn, we wanted her to have a Herbst.
Yeah, right. We wanted her to earn it, right? So I love the Herbst. I love the Forsus. I think you're right. I think I use the Forsus as a non-compliance, like sort of like an afterthought, and it really should be, you kind of plan with something like that. So, all right, let's go into this question. And this is my controversial question.
Oh no.
Hello, Katie. Katie's here. Thank you,
Hi.
Katie. She'll be next. So if you look at the lineup of speakers and you have eyes, you will notice that there are far more male speakers than female speakers. Okay. And a lot of the female speakers are non-doctors, so like Katie, hey Katie, but like a lot of the old consultants, old is the wrong word, they're a lot of the long-standing consultants, let's be honest. I mean, we have some that have been in our industry for 40 years and have a lot of respect, and they speak. Very few female doctor speakers. Why do you think this is, first, and then do you see this changing anytime soon?
Okay. Boy, I get asked that all the time, and I've been speaking for quite a while, and I get the opportunity to go throughout the world, and why I think there's not as many, and I think women tend to suffer from the imposter syndrome, where you're thinking, I'm not good enough, or maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, and there's an apprehension to do that. Where, okay, don't take this wrong, but men tend to think, hey, I know everything, and I'm the smartest man in this room, so of course I should be on the stage. where women are so concerned, like, maybe they'll find out I don't know. And I think part of it, I always say, she who dares wins. So just get out there and try it. I think you'll be surprised. For me, I think speaking as a woman, even internationally, has been easier for some of the men I speak with. Because part of it, there's not that, sorry guys, there's this kind of testosterone thing before men. It says alpha male. And I think sometimes they look more and think, shoot, if she
There's another way of saying that I think you were going to get. Thank you for keeping it PG.
It's
there's a contest of measurement. Yes,
exactly.
okay.
There you go. Then they think, well, shoot, if she can do that, I can do that. It can't be that hard. So, I think women need to get out there, and I think they are going to get more and more opportunities as more and more women, come into orthodontics. And, I think orthodontics is the perfect women's profession.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, we deal with kids. And so I encourage women, and if there's anyone, sorry, I talk with my hands, you can tell them Italian.
You're great.
I do too. You can tell them Italian. If there's any women who are considering that and they need someone to help them or help mentor them, please reach out to me, because somebody had to push me out there and say, you can do this. I thought I was going to be sick before, and I still laugh. I mean, sometimes I think, oh my gosh, all you people showed up to see what I had to say, and I get a big kick out of it. So, if anyone really feels like, boy, this is something I want to do, please reach out to me. I'd love to encourage more women to do it.
That's great. Yeah, so a lot of great thoughts there. I think probably some people would say easier being a female. They might have issue with that. I think it's great that there's different perspectives. And so for you as a female, maybe it was an asset to speak. I saw also, just as an aside, I saw you speaking in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And you had your was it Hadras or
Habaya. Yes.
I said that completely right. It's started with an H.
I didn't know what they were either. Yeah.
How was that experience?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
When I was first, I said, what that? Now that maybe I thought, I'm not so sure about.
Yeah.
It was a great meeting. They had excellent attendance. Everyone was so respectful. I didn't feel any difference being male or female there. Yeah. And it was really amazing too, though, in the Saudi meeting, how many women were speaking and how many women were running the show, which was very encouraging.
Yeah,
so that was a cool opportunity.
Well, I will say this, it's sort of an ongoing conversation thread that we've had, about, and there's been some doctors that have been really instrumental in raising this topic. So Courtney Dunn has a meeting, Women in Orthodontics meeting, has a group, and she brings this up regularly, which I think is healthy. So I will say, as a man, I can only speak for myself, and I'm not a beta male. I'm a very alpha kind of guy, right? Like, I like to be right or like to be in charge. But I welcome unique perspectives. So I think people of color, women, I want a lot of different people speaking. I want it to be representative of doctors in general. At the same time, it does have to be something that you have to push yourself to do. And it's also, the onus is also on the people that select these speakers to try and push themselves beyond to include people that they may not otherwise think of. Because it's easy as a white male to invite all my white male friends on the show. And I have friends that aren't white males, okay? But I think we need to break from that pattern. And thank you helping me break that pattern. All right, so let's jump to this question, then we'll talk about some digital workflow stuff.
Perfect.
So this is not a question as much as it is just a statement. When I was talking to my wife about who you were and who I was having on the show, the one thing that came to mind about you was that hands-on course, and then you also spoke and you talked about your team, and you started tearing up. They were in the audience, and it was really sweet. And it wasn't like you were faking it; you were really crying, and I think everyone in the audience started kind of tearing up. And your team, when I asked them about you, they were just down the line, 100% like, oh, she's the best. Sometimes you see doctors who speak, and you meet them, and they're very egotistical, and you're immediately like, I don't like fill in the blank, this person. And their teams, you can kind of tell, we know he's got a big name or she's got a big name, but he's such a jerk or whatever. I don't sense that at all from you, which speaks to your character, but how did you get there? What are sort of the things that drive you? What is your culture about, where you practice and all that?
And I was sorry to tear up when you were talking about that meeting.
No, it was a sweet moment.
And I think that's one thing too, when women are going to even speak on stage, be yourself. Do I cry on stage? I've cried a lot of times on stage.
I've cried on stage, so that makes you feel better. But yes.
Good. But I think, how I've gotten there, and again, that's just why I think even being a woman is easier, because I can connect with my team. They're like my sisters, but I'm also like their mother.
Yeah.
And I've got so many things in common that helps us bond. Where I feel sorry for some of my friends. What do you guys? I mean, we could talk about Pinterest and recipes all day long. Or
it's awful, Lisa.
Who's got better shoes? What purse we like that came in.
A couple of them watch football, so we have things to talk about. I'm just kidding.
But building your team is so important, and surround yourself with really good people in your professional life and your personal life. So I think sometimes when we're selecting our team, we have to kind of think of, be it strategic, fill those holes of, who do you need for what, and get people who share your core values. Because if you don't have a team member that shares your core values, doesn't believe in your mission, it's just not, it's just not going to work. So I think that's really the key. You get really good people, and look outside. Look in different places for people that maybe you wouldn't look for team members. Daycare, waitresses, hospital settings. There's a lot of really good people out there that maybe haven't hit our radar screen. Someone that's used to service and can really mesh, and let your team help pick who's going to be next.
So how do you do that? How do you let your team help? Because I agree completely. You don't do any interviewing?
They give me their final candidates.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And usually it's during a working interview. They're like, okay, so which one did you want? We took it down to 2. They'll help come up with a description. What are we looking for? Where do we want to look for this person? We're going to go online, Indeed, or we're going to go, peer-to-peer. A lot of times we'll find some of the best people that way. And so they really get involved. Particularly we'll have someone who is, really helps oversee the office, but also the person, if you and I have to work right next to each other, don't you want to pick who's going to be in the seat?
Absolutely, yeah. And
so you're going to have a vested interest in it. So that's something I think that is really helpful.
Well, that shows a lot of humility on your part and a lot of trust that you have in your team. And it empowers them to...
I thought it was pushing off responsibility.
Well, it might have been, but it was a smart way of not having to do something. I need to get myself out of the interviews. But what happens if you disagree with who they pick? Have you had that happen?
We've had some disagreement on it, or they'll bring somebody in, and all of a sudden they realize we made a mistake. What should we do? And
it's not you that made the mistake.
Well, sometimes I've made a mistake too.
But if you've allowed them to pick it and it's a mistake, that's a lot easier conversation than you insisted on having her. And now we're,
And so then we'll come up with like an action plan. Where are the issues? Do we like this person and their core values? Do we like them as a human being? And do we want to help them grow? And if the answer is yes, then we figure out how we're going to do it, who's going to do it, and then give ourselves a deadline to reevaluate. Have we gone through that path and then thought maybe no, this person isn't a good fit? We have, and so it's been a growth experience for everybody.
Sure, I love that. That's great. Thanks. Sage advice. We have 2.5 minutes to talk about digital workflow.
Awesome, and that is one of my biggest passions. Oh my gosh!
So give me your 2 minutes on digital workflow.
It is the most exciting thing I think we've done in our office.
Okay.
From doing our own printing to doing digital bonding, going impression free, and we've got our print lab, and it is really excited my staff too. People think that this is so complicated. I can't even turn on my own TV. I seriously, I can't.
They've gotten more complicated.
But the thing is, it gets everybody so energized, and so anything you can do to start down that path, there's so much out there. But you have to think of your goal first. What is it you want to accomplish, and bring your. We had a digital integration team that started looking for these pieces.
Who did you work with on that?
Within my own team.
Digital integration.
We have our own team. So
sounded like there was some group you hired. Okay.
That would be nice because we need a group like that.
Yeah.
But
what printer do you use?
I have about 6 different types. No, I have 10 total, but 6 different types. So it depends what you're trying to accomplish.
Wow. So what's your favorite right now? Are you at liberty to say? If you're not, you can name 2 or 3 favorites.
We've got a couple favorites, and it depends on who's going to be using it and what they're going to be printing. Okay. We use Moonrays quite a bit. Okay. We use Formlabs quite a bit. Okay. We do have those are some of our core ones that people aren't afraid to use. Right. We've got some, lower price printers like Photons, ePacks that can print. We've got so many, and I always encourage people, if you do start down a little bit, be able to reach out to us because we struggled with it. We started 4 or 5 years ago. We had a room full of stuff and nothing would work. Right. And we're like, oh my God, that's when you cry again, not only on stage.
Well, to be honest,
you cry in your print lab.
I started down the path of 3D printing very early on and failed at it, and I gave up. So I need to call you. I'm being inspired to get back into it. So Lisa, that was 20 minutes. You killed it.
Thanks.
Didn't she do great? All right, so everyone out there, you can clap for her. I have a clap app. 1 second. That sounds bad, doesn't it? All right, here we go.
That does sound really bad.
You got some applause. And we have real applause. Oh my goodness. For the first time ever, we're always in rooms by ourselves. So thank you for actual applause. All right, so microphone off. Katie Maassen, come on in. Try not to knock anything over. And thank you for doing this. We'll be in touch. You can watch it online. Hello to everyone watching. Hello. Hi. I'm going to say here is Katie. Hey, Katie, how are you? You can put your mic on just anywhere on your lapel there. And you are taller than Lisa, so you're going to take this
Yeah,
and go
I'm
down
gonna
just
go
a little
down.
bit. Not too far down. It'll go quick.
Wait, where is it?
Right there, right here. Yep, that's it. Now our heads are
We
even.
good?
You can't be taller than me. That's the only request I have for you on this show. All right, so this is Katie Maassen. Thanks for joining us, Katie.
Thank
So
you
as
for
I said
having me.
earlier, you are
Yeah.
the Director of Marketing and Communications for the AAO. That's a
Yes.
huge title.
Yes.
How old are you, by the way? You're not supposed to ask a woman, but you're young.
I think I'm celebrating the 7th anniversary of my 21st. So that
Okay.
no, you know what? That
Before
doesn't
your
even make
30s,
sense.
you
I'm
can
30.
proudly say how old you are.
I am 30 years old.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome to the 30s. I turned 35 yesterday.
It's really
and-
depressing. I'm sad.
No, it's great. I get told I look like a teenager. You also look young, and that's a
I
positive
still
thing.
get carded. It's
Yep,
really great.
I will get carded probably the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And my ID is actually expired, and that's a whole longer story. So I'll be buying drinks with my passport this weekend if I have to buy them. Hopefully, the reps that are here will
That's
buy my
great.
drinks.
That's
I want to
great.
thank you too. You actually
Yes.
switched. You were supposed to be Sunday. That was a better day for you.
Yeah.
I messed up the schedule,
Yes.
so thank you.
No, thank you for having me. I'm a huge
for
fan
switching.
of the Digital Orthodontist, so this is really exciting for me. I
Well-
hope my mom's watching. Hi, Mom.
Hi,
I'm
Mom.
kidding. She's not watching.
She'll watch later,
She's
though.
not an orthodontist.
And she'll enjoy it. We could have let her in the group. But
No, it's fine.
we have a lot of fun questions. Maybe some of these are controversial. I don't know.
Yeah.
When
Probably. Don't
you,
put me on the hot seat.
I'm going to put you on the hot seat, but it'll be question 4, okay?
Okay.
So question 1 is, when you took over as Director of Marketing, what were the first few
Yeah.
things you decided to change? Because obviously, from my perception, a lot changed, and you were given a lot of that credit. I know there's people that work with you, but that was how I came to know about you. And then of those changes, how they helped orthodontists like me.
Oh, I think I think that's a really good question. There has been a lot of changes, especially over the last year, maybe 2. But no, it's definitely not all because of me. There is a great team all working together to make some of these changes happen.
Yeah.
So we've got some great staff at the AAO. Our marketing team, we've got 7 people on it. Almira is actually one of them. Hi, Almira.
Hello.
But we have some great members of the staff that have been helping me execute a lot of the changes that we've made, as well as COC. The Council on Communications is great. I know you talked to Dr. Niladikula about it a few
Yep.
weeks ago.
Yep.
And they're such a great, passionate group about doing what's right and best for the profession when it comes to marketing. So, so I know you said few changes, which is funny because it was a lot more than a few.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, we made.
Few can be 50.
Yeah,
You know, it's a
50.
few.
I mean, how much time do we have?
What were
I
like the
don't-
biggest, like 2
No.
or 3 like biggest changes that
so
you wanted me
biggest
to
changes. So when I came in, let's say there was a CAP, there was a program,
Yep.
and the idea was there, the passion was there, the want was there to educate the public and promote orthodontists as specialists. But it really needed some modernization. So how do we make this more effective, from spend to how we're reaching consumers to the different platforms that they were advertising on? I mean, yeah, at that time you did still have some TV ads, print ads, billboards, things like that maybe weren't as effective, especially with the AAO's nominal budgets. So I immediately came in and we ran an audit and we shifted a lot of things. So we ended a lot of the maybe older methods of marketing and then shifted a lot to digital marketing. So that's really been the focus over the past couple of years, has been marketing the profession digitally and giving members, the kind of ammo they need to do it themselves as well. But there's been a lot of efforts recently to improve the whole marketing program at the AAO to consumers. And promote the profession and promote orthodontics as specialists. Great changes. I mean, I'm happy to report that, I think 2016, the annual visitors to the AAO's website from consumers was maybe like 300,000 total for the year. 2018 just ended and we had over 7.4 million. So that was about a 1,700% increase in visitors to the consumer website, which is great because we have a lot of information on there about the importance of seeing an orthodontist, the importance of seeing a specialist, the differences between GPs and orthos, as well as our consumer alert, all about direct-to-consumer orthodontics. And there's also our Find an Orthodontist locator. So we've seen, substantial increases in the amount of usage from modern consumers on the Find an Orthodontist locator, which all AAO members, if you're active and paying for the CAP, you're listed in.
Yeah, right on. I mean, you don't have to convince me. I am a huge.
Some people
Look who's
might
here.
not know. Hi. Those are
Actually,
really cool
this is
sunglasses.
Are you gonna be around for a little bit? Yeah. Dr. Cheap Smiles is here. Come in real quick.
Hey.
Just get in the frame. Get in the
Yes.
frame. So, come on in. Look who we have.
Yes.
I'm not trying to interrupt anybody, but no.
Get in there where we see you.
I mean, I
Guys,
figured most people want to
I
see
brought
me,
you some
so-
sunglasses
guy.
too.
Yeah,
They're
well,
AAO
let's put these on.
sunglasses.
Let's-
I feel like we need to do like a sunglass picture.
Let's jump to the next question. We're going to talk about direct-to-consumer aligner products.
Okay.
They're
I like it.
They're crowding the market. I'm going to ask. Was that? Is that a pun? It is a pun. How did you know? What do you think about direct-to-consumer aligners?
Well, basically, you guys are all going to be out of a job.
Oh yeah, you don't have a mic.
Another year or two. Dr. Cheap Smiles is taking over. So good luck.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Cheap Smiles.
Yes,
We got to get you on here later.
All right.
Do you know Dr. Cheap Smiles?
I've seen your YouTube videos.
Everybody
They're
knows.
funny.
No, just joking.
Yeah, no,
Everybody knows you. You're the best. Your gum
I mean,
gum
those
smells
sunglasses
great.
are pretty memorable.
Can I see these glasses? Can I put them on real quick?
If you want.
Are these like Elvis glasses or something?
I love the gold rims.
This is fantastic.
Beautiful glass.
Those don't look cheap.
You never know what you're going to see on the floor of the AAO exhibit hall. This is why we go, right? This is why we come to this meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Zach.
It's
Or,
such
I mean,
a
Dr.
great
Cheap
time.
Smiles.
Everybody, I love the energy, the passion. Everyone's excited. This is awesome.
That was great. I considered doing a 20-minute interview with him, and I think it would have been too much. It would have been too much.
Yeah.
So I got 40
That'd be
seconds
really
of Dr. Cheap
interesting.
Smiles. I don't know that I agree with him
At least
on
you
that
got
stuff.
those sunglasses on
Yeah.
here. I mean,
Let's
I'm
actually-
sure everyone's loving those.
Let's get back on our road. And the road I was going to ask you was digital marketing. I'm a huge fan. Obviously, I co-own a company that does digital marketing.
Yeah.
So when those changes were announced, I was thrilled because I do think that is the nexus.
Yes.
Google and the website, that's the nexus by which I think we can make the biggest impact locally and nationally. Do you ever see a time, though, where we do return to these traditional forms of advertising, newspaper, magazine, TV?
I think that's a great question. If we had $80 million, yes, absolutely. I would definitely, create more effective strategies on those kind of platforms because TV, if you have a lot of money, it can be effective, especially to a national audience. But the AAO with the cap, I know everyone talks about the assessment so much, but collectively, the budget that we have is very nominal compared to other companies that have very massive budgets, and they can afford to do that kind of marketing. So for us, we're cost effective. We do the most efficient, advertising that we can. Digital marketing happens to be the best for us, and our restrictions that are placed upon us. So I'm a huge fan of digital marketing, and I follow everything you do.
You don't
as
have
well.
to convince
It's
me.
great.
I think it's for what I keep
great.
waiting for the shoe to drop in the sense that if it becomes if digital marketing becomes as expensive as it is worth, I'm nervous about it because I'm never going to pay for a magazine, like a major magazine, or I don't even know what it costs to put a commercial on TLC.
Those are a lot.
But there's just no way. But you can really compete well.
I'm thinking Super Bowl commercial. Hey, can we all?
That'd be awesome.
I mean, that would be really great.
That'd be great. So, well, I applaud you in those efforts. Let me jump into this. So you mentioned the CAP, or what does that stand for? The CAP? It's the Consumer
Awareness Program. I know. I think the COC has been kind of tossing around the idea of recommending a change to that. Yeah, it's
rebrand it.
It could use some, revamping.
It is somewhat
exciting.
of a four-letter word among certain
It's more of
orthodontists.
an advocacy program. If I had to, change it to something, it's more like advocating for patients and the profession, the specialty, all of that.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, we're trying to toss around some new name ideas.
Well,
We'll see.
doctors don't like to part with money, most of them. So I think that's part of it. So the assessment is currently $800, which it's no small chunk of change, right?
Right.
The COC is asking the House of Delegates to approve a bump to $1,200.
Yeah.
So my immediate question is, what are you doing with the other $400 per member? And I guess conservatively, if you know this number, what does that amount to in terms of the number of members that we have, roughly? Do you know that?
Yeah, so estimated budget. Okay, so the COC, they're looking to increase the budget because, the efforts that are currently in place, they do have data now that shows that it's working. So trying to be data-driven and look at what's currently working, how can we improve it? Yes, they are saying that it would be great if we have more budget because, so for example, some of our campaign strategies, we maybe have a lower impression share than we'd like to have, and all we need is just a little bit more money, and we can increase the impression share for the amount of times we appear for, I don't know, certain search terms. But they're asking for a bump to a $1,200 assessment, and I think if that were to go through collectively, it'd be around a $9 million total budget. Whereas with an $800 assessment, I think it'd be somewhere around 6.4, 6.5.
Okay.
So
is it mostly, and I mean, I'm not going to hold you to this because you don't know necessarily right now, but let's assume that goes through, and then now you have that much more money, a few more million dollars.
Yeah.
Is that going to go just like, so we talk about with digital marketing, it's like a faucet. It's like, how much water do you want to have come out?
Yeah.
And you can just keep turning it, and you have a waterfall.
Yeah.
And there's a point, obviously, where it runs out, but it with digital, it takes a long time. So are you just going to use the same kind of methods you've got in place right now, and same strategies, and just turn the faucet on more, or are you going to seek other avenues?
A little bit of both. Bit of both. So
where would you say that we're missing out as the AAO because of budget?
That's a great question. I honestly think, in my opinion, the place that we're missing out the most is just our impression shares. So we could be doing better in a lot of areas, and we could be more competitive in a lot of other areas. Okay. But right now, we just can't because we're restricted. Yeah. And what's scary to me is that yes, there are other companies, other people out there advertising, going after the places where we want to be, and they have more money than we do, so we can't appear, and they are. So yes,
and in fairness, I was going to say, in fairness, they always will have more money.
Oh yeah.
So we could turn that assessment up to $10,000 and maybe catch up, but they're going to have more money, and they're going to be able to advertise more. And so I think the other twist on this is to allow the AAO to pattern behaviors for orthodontists in their local communities. Yep. So I've said from day one when this has come up is that you cannot expect the AAO to defend the profession entirely. Yeah. They can do it in part, and they can act as sort of an inspiration, okay? Yep. And as a colleague in the fight, okay? From a digital marketing perspective, we can see what works, and there's maybe even a better way to kind of share that with the members and things like that. That's something I've tried to do is share that information because it's free knowledge and it can empower people, but you've got to go and do it yourself. So I guess what would you say the average orthodontist could learn from what you've learned in terms of how they market their practice? I mean, maybe 3 places you would put ad spend into if you were helping an orthodontist. Is that answerable?
Yeah. Okay, I do not endorse anything, but...
Oh, yeah, you have legal requirements, don't you?
Hypothetically, if I were to pick 3 places to advertise myself, I'd probably look at Facebook, Google, and what would you say, Instagram? Facebook, Google, Instagram? I don't know, there's a lot of great ones. Snapchat's also a really good one, too. Snapchat for awareness is fantastic.
So I don't hear that very often, that's good.
Yep.
So I think for sure, at least in my mind, Facebook, Google are solid, 1 and 2. Yeah. I'd probably put Google 1. It depends on what you're after, but yes. The third is a flex. Maybe Instagram, Snapchat, maybe like Pinterest or something?
YouTube. Pinterest.
No Pinterest for you?
Yeah, we don't do much with Pinterest. Okay. It doesn't really work for us. But YouTube is another great place. I mean, YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. Right. So going after those people that are like behaviorally searching or searching for different topics and keywords, within that, I think it's a great place to show them a video and make sure they get your kind of message before they're watching a review or something like that. But
YouTube being owned by Google, it does help feed into your SEO from your website. So there's some synergy there.
Those are great places.
All right, let's talk about this. You talked about member outlets or ways to communicate better with members. Tell me how you're trying to improve on that, because obviously some of the issue that you have is a PR issue. With the CAPAs, it gets brought up instead as a 4-letter word. For some people, I think some of that is just messaging and PR. How are you seeking to improve that, or what are ways that you can improve communications?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So, I mean, what we're seeing at the AAO right now, it's not even just with the CAP. It's with other initiatives, like advocacy initiatives too, where members just simply aren't aware. We're seeing a big awareness problem. So the COC, they're actually, the CAP's going great, everything's running smoothly, so over the next year they're going to be really looking at like member marketing initiatives and member communication initiatives. What new ways can they get information out to members so they know what they're getting from the AAO and the value to the membership and what the AAO is doing for the profession as the collective voice. So I know COC has been looking at, getting more involved with the Facebook groups. I think maybe some of them have reached out to you and the Digital Orthodontist.
Yeah, I blocked them all from my group. Just kidding. No. Yes, you're welcome to come and message there.
Yeah, sure. But we're definitely, and we're looking at, in the future over the coming months, looking at redesigning a lot of the member communications platforms that we have. So like the practice management bulletin that you got, the printed bulletin, we're looking at kind of redesigning that that, making that more appealing to the readers. We're also looking at better email marketing. So I know you may or may not receive e-bulletins, things from the AAO.
So I'll be very honest.
We're looking at revamping
I've
those.
unsubscribed from some of that.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be honest, and that's not what you should tell to the AAO Director of Communications and Marketing.
No, that's okay.
It was before your time, I think. In fairness. You know that I've unsubscribed?
Yeah, I think we talked about this.
Maybe.
But
the reason was it was just too much, and I'm trying to get junk out of my life. So I think if you can make those more value filled, or maybe make it where you can subscribe for like the hot stuff, like the good stuff, and not like everything. Like I don't want to know like everything. And I sometimes regret it, but I don't know how to resubscribe. So we're going to get me resubscribed.
We need to get you resubscribed.
And we're going to make the emails better.
Yeah.
And I think, some of your biggest advocates, I think, is the AAO and maybe specifically of the COC is people like Courtney and Anil and Tristy, I think she's on there, and those sorts, because I think they're really what are helping kind of feed this kind of positive reaction to it.
Yeah, definitely. I know that is actually one of the common things I hear is, what is the AAO doing about this, or what are they doing to educate the public? And it's like, well, we sent an email out about that. Didn't you get it? And people are like, no, I don't look at emails.
I didn't read it.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. It's a tough job.
It is tough.
Communicating to people and getting your message across is not easy. It never has been.
Yes.
We've got, let's see. We have 4 minutes, but I don't see Greg Jorgensen, so you may be.
He's right there.
Oh, he is here.
We did, so on a member awareness issue, so we did create 2 short links on the member website. So if people want to know what the CAP's doing, you can go to aaoinfo.org/CAP, and we'll update that all year long with results, numbers, things. And then there's another one for advocacy, actually. So if you want to know what the legal team's doing or what's going on with the advocacy realm, you can go to aaoinfo.org/advocacy, and that will have advocacy updates to it all year long. Yep.
Great. Do you mind, after this, later on, go drop those links here, and if people are watching this, they can see it. If you're watching on the podcast, you're on your own. You'll have to type it in yourself.
Sorry.
2 quick questions. We've got 4 minutes. We're good. Direct-to-consumer aligner products. I was almost jumping into this. You probably thought we weren't going to come back to it, and you were probably hoping that. But you don't have to say anything specifically. Let me say words, okay? We will not talk about any names of companies. Obviously, this is something we're all dealing with. You obviously have a consumer awareness. This is no surprise. How do orthodontists compete with that from a marketing perspective? What are some things we should focus on?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think really it's more of an overall collective awareness thing. Really, make sure, look at your top 3 things. So your website, your social media, your search. How are you doing with those 3 things in your own practice? Because that's where a lot of those companies are advertising. And if you're looking in your own local market and you want to see how you're able to compare with that, audit those things. Make sure you're strong. Like, how is your search presence? Where people are looking for you, are you appearing? Also, look at your website. What kind of content do you have on your website?
And don't just search for the name of your practice and see if you show up.
Yes.
Search for orthodontics within your zip code and see. And don't even search the name, the qualifier of your city. Search within that area. And usually people search long tail, so they'll search I need braces for a 12-year-old in Memphis, Tennessee, or something like that. So do that, see how you show up. Also, don't do it on your history, so do it on a incognito browser on someone else's computer so that you're not getting any things that are throwing it off, and then see objectively how it shows up. Obviously, companies can help you with that, but that's the way to approach it. Here's one thing I think is huge for us as orthodontists, and Neil touched on this about loving patients and kind of leading with our heart and things like this. It was a really great lecture this morning, and really going the extra step with patients is really the nexus or the road to people talking about us more online. One way that you can really win is if you have a huge social media presence. In Facebook, what moms do is they go into groups and they ask, who do you want as an orthodontist? Who's the best orthodontist? You will win those conversations if you've won the hearts of moms and patients. And I think that, from a social media perspective, to me is the holy grail, what we call advocacy marketing. And if you can create that, we can win. I can beat a DTC group all day long with heart, because that is going to be lacking. So, but I do think all the analytical kind of nerdy stuff that I love, that plays into that as well. And I think y'all have patterned that very well. We have 1 minute for you to tell me some things you're working on that are new and exciting.
Oh, fun things. We've got a lot of fun, exciting things that we're working on at the AAO. I think something cool, we're trying to look into the, over the last year, we've been looking with the voice and artificial intelligence kind of platforms, so such as
AI.
Amazon Alexa. Yeah, like how can we get more involved with them so that way if somebody asks Alexa a question about orthodontics or orthodontist, we can help feed those answers.
It's funny you say that because that's the focus for Neon Canvas right now is looking into those things.
Yeah. We're definitely looking at stuff like that. There's a lot of fun initiatives, though, I think, at the AAO. We're moving in the right direction, and I think there's a lot of strategic initiatives in place. So,
Well, you did it. 2:20. We were like exactly on time. It's 2:20 my time. 12:20 this. You did not speak for 2 hours.
I don't even know what time it is. What's today? Is today Friday?
Is Saturday, May 4th.
It's Saturday.
I'm only halfway through all the fun that I've got. You did awesome.
Thank
I have to
you
give
so
a
much.
shout out to Katie.
Thank
Katie has
you.
watched. I've seen her name come up different times. And so thanks for being a watcher and now a guest. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
so
everything
much.
you do for our
Thank
profession.
You. Thank
and
you.
Greg Jorgensen, we're switching
Yes,
it.
we're
just going to
switching.
go all day long.
Now, he's
Actually,
on CSE, so
another
continue
40
to.
minutes. Look
ask
at my
him
first
some
question,
CSE
the
questions.
Consumer Awareness Program. We're doing it.
I'm not sure what that is,
Taking
Katie.
over.
Dr. Greg. Can I clap it up for Katie? Can we clap it up for Katie, everyone? Okay.
Wow.
And we're clapping it up for Dr. Greg Jorgensen, who is joining me here. Greg, great to see you, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having
Are
me.
these left for me? Are these for me to wear, I guess? These are AAO branded sunglasses.
Well, they'll match those
Thank
really
you.
fancy backpacks everybody's wearing around.
I see.
I don't know if you've
They're-
looked at them, but they look pretty awesome.
They are pretty. Did you come up? Was that your idea?
It was not.
Okay.
They look like they must have cost at least
Yes.
50 cents. It's
No,
unbelievable.
Yes, they are. They're very lightweit. That's what we're going for.
That is a good
It
way
will
to...
not burden you as you carry things in it, although it will
will
break
not.
through the bag.
That's
Give me a quick 30-second bio for anyone who doesn't know you.
Greg Jorgensen. My private practice is in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. I've been down there a little over 25 years. I would say 28, but that makes me sound older than 25.
Yeah,
So,
25, yeah.
Been down there. It's a great place to live. I've only had one practice. I've only had just my solo practice. I've never had an associate, never had a satellite. And coming up in December, my son Brent's joining me. So we're trying to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah,
That's
man.
the most exciting thing in our life right now.
Well, let me ask you, how are you making that work? If you don't mind me asking, because
Prayer and fasting and yoga and
Supplication.
meditation. We're looking at several different options. There's I live on the west side of town. There's some opportunities on the east side of town. For the first 6 months, we're just going to bring him up to speed because we see between 80 and 90 patients a day, and in the residency, you see about 10 a day, and he better know how
on
to
a good day.
treat more than 10 a day or we're in trouble.
Yeah, y'all are going to be screwed. So I'm sure that if he's anything like you, he'll be great and y'all will have a good time. I actually commented to my wife the other day, I think my 5-year-old, she's got the potential to be an orthodontist 20 years, 23 years from now, if we still even have orthodontics.
There you go.
Which we will. We're going to show this back to her, but I think she has she's 5, what do I know? But I was just saying how cool it would be to someday practice with your child. That's a really cool opportunity.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah,
we'll let you know how it
cool.
works. Give me
let
back
me know how it
in
works.
2 years and we'll
if
give you a
it's a
report.
disaster, then I won't do it.
There
so
you go.
Let's jump in with something we're talking with Katie about. This is the theme of the day apparently, but is the CAP, the Consumer Awareness Program. It's at $800. They're asking for it to go to $1,200 first. Are you in favor of this change? And if you are, how do you think it will help doctors like you and me?
I think that obviously I'm in favor of it. I serve on the council on communications.
I didn't know.
Yeah, and what I see, Kyle, and I know you know all about digital marketing, is that there's no way we can compete with the direct-to-consumer aligner manufacturers.
No,
Those
not
guys,
head-to-head.
they're spending, the estimates are 150 million to 200 million one company, and the other company is spending close to 100 million. So we're looking at 250 million to 300 million dollars we're up against. And I hear people saying, why can't we, why aren't we doing this? Why isn't the AAO, competing with these guys? We have a $6 million budget. We can't compete. So what we're trying to do is, and Katie's masterful at this, what she said is, we may not ever be the top search engine result because we can't afford it. But if we could be the second every time, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what we do is we let them do all the advertising on TV, magazines, at the concerts, at the rodeos, everywhere you see the big purple signs out there, they're paying millions of dollars for that. If we can take our $6 million and when people search for them, we're right underneath them, they can go to it. And it's worked pretty well. So what we're trying to do is just increase our visibility by going from $6 million a year to $9 million a year. And we have some indications that would really help. When we relaunched the website a few months ago, for a while, we didn't have any social media out there, and people were not aware of us, so we had an extra part of the budget. We bumped up our spend, and the number soared. So we know if we spend more, we get more, and so we're just asking for more, because if there's ever been a time in our past, in our profession, when we need to ramp up our efforts to let people know what's going on, it's now.
Yep.
We got to do it now, or we may not. This meeting may be a lot different 5-10 years from now.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, 100% agree. I'm in favor of it for what that's worth. Just don't ask
There
for
we
more.
go.
Just don't ask for more, okay?
Well, let me tell you, right now,
Sarah.
it's $800, and if we don't pass it, it will drop to $600. If we do pass it, what we're asking to do is go to $1,200. It's an extra $33 a month.
Yeah, I mean, look, I pay in the state of Tennessee $400, what's called a professional courtesy, which I could talk 20 minutes on that courtesy and how ironic that all is. But $400, I mean, as a practicing orthodontist. Now, if I'm a resident, $400 is a huge deal. And I remember when I first saw that, I was like, ooh. And I think you maybe ease people into it or whatever it is. But $400 at this point as a practicing orthodontist is not significant enough to not kind of feed into this. And I'm thankful that we have people like you that are on that board that I trust to make sure that it's doing well. And Katie's exceptional, and so
she's awesome.
So thanks for the work you're
As
doing.
I know you talked to her about, she's pulled back on all the things that weren't working, and she's focused on the things that have return on investment. And we look at that every time we meet.
Good.
And if it's not working, we pull back.
Good. Great. Well, thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
By the way, if you're out there watching, and a lot of people will be watching this later because obviously everyone's busy right now, people are eating. So I would love to eat lunch. I didn't eat lunch yesterday. I probably won't eat lunch today. What's wrong with me?
One bit of advice.
About lunch?
Yeah. If you go to Smashburger, make
you
sure
what?
that you either wear an apron or you put some napkins down, because you notice my
get-
pants are different. I took one bite and it went all over me, so I'm wearing new clothes right now.
That's why they call it Smashburger, I guess, or something. So yeah, he was
delicious though.
I saw him earlier, and he was so excited about Smashburger. I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the jeans look fine. They look fine. That's good. It's a good look. So we were talking about some awesome stuff. You have like maybe the 5 most unique questions. So I'm super excited.
There you go.
The first one is going to be a huge one, and I'm going to be talking later with Glenn Krieger about this. He may have a different perspective.
Okay.
Tomorrow with Sean Carlson, he may have a different perspective, and so I think that's beautiful. But the AAO Winter Meeting, midwinter meeting. It was on obstructive sleep apnea. It was a very popular meeting. I wasn't able to go. Glenn's Orthopreneurs meeting is on Airway. Okay. Tell me about this. So there was a AAO task force that summarized the findings, and you said that it was resounding in its kind of answer. Summarize that for me. What was your conclusion? I asked like 9 questions there. Let's just talk about it.
I'll just go as quick as I can.
You're good.
First of all, I'm not an airway expert, and what I wanted to know going into that meeting was, is there something out there that we can do to help these patients? If so, what is it? Are there things we're doing that are causing problems for them? Those are the questions I had going into it, and I don't have a horse in the race, so I wanted to know from an unbiased point of view. And what they basically said was that there's not much that we're doing to hurt patients. There's not much we can do. There are some things that we can do kind of in association with ENTs and other people to help them.
Right.
But that it's more than an anatomical disease. It's not just if we can make things bigger, sleep apnea will go away.
Right.
It's a multifactorial disease, and what you're looking at is you're looking at neural influences. It has to do with this soft tissue pipe. And if there is a lack of tonicity, or if tonicity is lost, it collapses. And so a lot of the things we do are higher up than that. When you're expanding the palate, that's a good thing if it's done in association with tonsil adenoidectomies and things like that. Yep. So basically, the take-home message was we should be aware of what's going on. We should screen patients for it. We should refer when necessary. And if we want to work with a group that's working on sleep apnea and on those things, we can be part of the team. But we're really not the primary providers of care for that. Yep. And the other thing, and you'll talk to Sean a little bit more about this, I love my CBCT. We do it on all the patients. We check everything. There has yet to be shown a real correlation between what we see in that beautiful air pipe diagram that you see and obstructive sleep apnea. The minimal, minimal constricted area or index that's on there, it's so variable that you might see something on one patient and it looks terrible, but they don't have sleep apnea. And then you look at another sleep apnea guy, he's got this big, huge, 4-lane highway going through there. So we don't really know enough to be able to diagnose or treatment plan from that.
Yeah. So it might surprise you, but I did my thesis on airway,
and
I measured on CBCT. So it's been 7 years ago or something. all these airways and looking for volumes. I was trying to see if there was a difference between class 2s and class 1s. And I subdivided the class 2s because obviously there's different variations.
Right.
McNamara did a paper, I think it was on 5 or 6 different key variations of the class 2, and I found no difference between the two.
Yeah.
All I saw was that with age, the airway got bigger, as you would expect. Males had bigger airways than females. That was it. And it was retrospective, and it was not a perfect study, but I think what that kind of showed me immediately was that maybe the airway is unrelated to the things that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe it is related. I think there was another study from a resident at West Virginia that found that class 3s had bigger airways on average, which would kind of make sense.
Yeah.
And there's athletes that are better athletes. Is it because they have bigger airways? I don't know. There's all these sort of questions, but you start kind of trying to answer these questions with well, that kind of makes sense. And that's never a way to go about answering a question.
No.
So when you hear Airway-Friendly Orthodontics, what's your first reaction to that?
My first thought is everyone here is friendly to the airway. How do you like
Are
that?
we?
We are all friendly to the airway. I love it.
Yeah.
The thing I think we have to be careful about is back in the 80s, there was a group of orthodontists that wanted to be joint friendly. And so they started setting themselves apart as TMJ orthodontists. And then what happened was everybody picked up on that and said, well, if he's TMJ friendly, these guys are not TMJ friendly.
Right.
We want to avoid having the airway friendly orthodontists and the airway unfriendly.
It creates a false dichotomy. Yeah, I agree, for sure.
Unless you're making your patients heavier or unless you're causing loss of tonicity or anything like that, you're an airway friendly orthodontist, and so am I.
And I don't want to be so cynical about it because I do accept, so I don't use 3D. I do accept that there's probably things that I'm not currently using that one day I will, and I'll say, well, I guess I was wrong about that. But I also think that some of it is being pushed into a place that's really unreasonable and unfounded, and I hope to speak with people with different perspectives and see what they have to say about it.
Yeah.
I send a ton of people to the ENT, probably more than I should, I guess, but we see a lot of kids with swollen tonsils, adenoids. You can view it very
That's what
easily
it's all about.
on a 2D Ceph. I can see it, and I say, look, I'm not an ear, nose, and throat, but you might want to have them checked if they've got snoring, if they're waking up throughout the night, if they're bedwetting. I mean, there's these certain questions you should be asking. I think that's where we need to be in terms of airway friendly. Is we need to have a standard sheet of questions that we ask, and then we're screening for it. And 4 out of 5, hey, probably need to go see your nose and throat.
And I'm screening every patient now. I wasn't doing that before, so the conference was very helpful for me.
Good.
But I did go home and I looked at, and I took a whole bunch of patients. This is kind of my own study.
Yeah.
Before and after, and all I'd done on these patients was expanders, and I tried to look at that MCI index.
Yeah.
And like you, I didn't see any pattern.
Yeah, there was no.
They got
pattern
bigger
that
in
we
some,
could
they
find.
got smaller in other ones. My son's doing that research down at Arizona right now, and it's just so variable that it doesn't mean anything.
Well,
yet.
it's a muscular tube that's surrounded by soft tissues,
Yep.
and the idea that us moving a tooth, 2 millimeters this way or that way would affect it, I think is pretty naive.
Yeah.
So, all right. Question 3. Let's talk about the ABO, the American Board of Orthodontics. We got about 10 minutes left, so we're gonna get in there.
Good.
The new scenario-based exam. I call this the Jorgensen exam. Okay. I know you're
I hope it works.
Yeah. I know you're pretty instrumental in pushing for that, and you call it a step in the right direction. But walk me through that. What's been the feedback? And then, are there more doctors taking that now?
There are. In fact, the next 2 exams are completely sold out.
Great.
They're completely rescheduled. And the third one is, they're putting in a third one for next year because so many people want to take it. What I saw, Kyle, was I saw a lot of people that would come out of school and they'd say, I don't get it. How is it going to help me? I don't want to take the board. And so it not only wasn't helpful to the public, but it was a divisive force within our own profession at a time when we need to be sticking together and kind of
Being on the same team.
Yeah, being on the same team. Some people were advertising that they were ABO certified, some were not. Some were saying, well, I know somebody that's ABO certified, he's the worst orthodontist in town. My feeling is if it didn't mean a whole lot to people and it was so hard that people wouldn't do it, why couldn't we take it and use it as a vehicle to unite us and bring us together? But what it would require is changing how the test was given so that patients people like my son who get out of school and they're working so hard for the first 5 to 10 years to pay off their debts and things, they don't have time to get all the plaster cast together and put everything together and go to St. Louis and take these, and present 10 sets of models like I did. My idea was, let's make a test that is scenario based so that anybody that went to a residency should be able to pass it. If not, those residencies need to up their game. I want everybody that's in a residency to come out with enough knowledge they should be able to pass that, and it should be way more knowledge than general practitioners or anybody else has.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that was my impetus for us. I said, instead of using the ABO as a vehicle to divide us, let's see if we can use it to unite us, and that's the reason I push for what I push for.
And to be fair, I understand the other side of it, the kind of regret. I know there's like what are called Rambos, the guys that did like, they had to show like 2 years of retention and all that. I mean, much more difficult. You said 10 cases, I showed 6 cases.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult process.
It was.
At 6, I can only imagine 10, and I can only imagine having to show 2 years of retention.
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen. So I get it. I feel like it feels like a slippery slope, I'm sure, to people that have been there for a long time that have defended it. At the same time, I think it's wise to adapt as things change. And I don't care if someone takes a scenario-based. Good for them. Like, I took the test with 6 casts. I'm just thankful when I have to re-up that I don't have to do the casts again. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of work. I feel like I understood it after a couple casts. It reminds me of in residency when you have to trim models.
Right.
We do like 15 or 20 of those. Like 2 in, I was like, I know what we're doing
I know
here.
what I'm doing
the rest
now.
is just kind of busy work. So,
well, here's my next step. What I really would like to see is I would like to see it incorporated so that every resident who gets out and has the talent, has the skills, can be board certified right off the bat. And I want to see a new credential after our names. And you've heard me say this before.
I love it. Yep.
That right now, there's no way to really tell by the credentials who's an orthodontist and who's not. So if everybody that can pass the board was able to have ortho after their name, you'd be Kyle DDS Ortho, and I would be Greg DMD Ortho. At least people looking at it would say, this is an orthodontist, this is a GP, and they'd know some difference. So if we can use it for that, if we can use board certification to help us distinguish ourselves, that's better than what we've done in the past.
We're going to call it the Jorgensen license.
As long as it works, yeah.
He's like, yeah, you can name it after me if it's good.
There you go.
So they're not going to call it the Fagala license.
No,
I can't take credit for it. So I love the idea of that. I think that's great. It would be an immediate way of determining. Now, another conversation with the ABO was this idea that somehow if we could get everyone board certified, then there would be maybe insurance leverage that we could use. I don't know, do you think that's still, is that a pipe dream or is that possible?
Well, we've looked at it actually, and what we found, unfortunately, is there was no difference in the number of lawsuits or anything between the two groups, and so the idea's been looked at and it's not going to fly.
Yeah, okay.
So,
yeah, to flesh that out, and someone had explained this to me at one point, is that if we were all board certified, like a board certified plastic surgeon, and they're all board certified, or like a cardiologist.
Oh, you're talking about for insurance companies only paying for board certified.
Correct.
I'm all for that. We haven't really done that yet. I thought you were talking about do board certified orthodontists get a break on their insurance?
Oh, no.
That didn't work. But no, what you're talking about, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would say this. I don't think that there's probably a correlation between if you're board certified and if you're good as an
That's
orthodontist.
exactly what I was trying to say.
Nor do I think there's a correlation between where you went to residency and how good you are, at least as I've noticed. And so I went to Tennessee. Right. I think it's a great residency, but I know people that went to residencies that we thought of as not great that are absolutely killing it. So I think it's more about the person. So let's wrap up with this. We got about 4 minutes.
Got it.
So we'll have plenty of time to talk about this, but you're speaking tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. in room 502. I'm sure it will be a packed room. It'll be awesome. You're going to be talking about evaluating your practice's online presence. So give me a quick rundown of what you're going to be sharing.
Well, I know that you're way up on all this stuff, but most of our colleagues are not.
Well, he has more blog views than I think any other orthodontist, so I'll give you a little credit.
Well, a lot of our colleagues here, though, they just assume that if they buy a website, stick it up online, that's all they have to do.
Right.
And then you and I both know from even on your Facebook group and other ones, people are always asking, who do you use for SEO? I just want to pay somebody to do it. And as we understand, there's a lot of parts of SEO that we have to participate in. Content, that's not something you can just pay a company to do. Social media, if you want to really have social media, you have to be social. So I'm going to be talking about how do you evaluate what you really have online right now? How do you know if your Google My Business site is actually up to date and if you're using all the parts correctly? How do you know if your site's been coded right, if the URLs are right, all that? I don't really do that stuff, but I know how to tell if it's done right. So I'm just going to be throwing things out there for them. I don't work for any company, and I know that you're offering at your booth an evaluation of those things, and I'm going to just talk about what kinds of things people can do to find out if their site is modern, if it's up to date, find out what the things off of their, we call it off-page SEO, make sure that those things, they're paying attention to them and they're working to develop them, because that's something that even though companies can give you an idea, a lot of them require you being involved.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Now, I will say, I think blogging, anything is best. Well, let me say how I say this. these things are always best when you're involved as a doctor, when your personality is infused to it. There is sort of a break point there where you can't be involved in everything.
Right.
And obviously you get blogging, you're able to speak and off the cuff and write and all these sorts of things, and some people aren't able to. So I think there's some people that do need to delegate these things. Social media, though, I always tell people it's nice to have a company to kind of augment, to help, to kind of be waiting in the wings, but we try and get not the doctor to be trained, but a team member who we call a social media manager.
Right.
Now, I'm into social media, and so we have a team of 4 people that do that, but and I do have Neon Canvas that helps me, but blogging is something I used to do when I had time, and now I can't. And so Neon does that for me, and it's great, and it's keyword rich. Now, probably if I were doing it, it might be maybe a little bit different. I don't know if I say better, but what have you learned from blogging and doing it yourself? And to someone out there that's starting a practice, let's think of that kind of person, because they do have time. What would you tell them about blogging? Because it is powerful, and people think it's not. But.
Well, one of the things I've noticed just from using Google Analytics, which I know you know all about, is that the majority of the people that come to my site are there for the information on the blog.
Yes.
Now, most of those people don't live in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, but how it helps me is it gives my site credibility and authority with Google.
Yep.
So what I would tell them is you got to put something out there, and if there are questions that some of your patients consistently ask you over and over again, use the blog as a way to answer the question and then refer people to it. And if they're looking at that and other people are finding it through Google searches, it's a win-win.
Yeah. So here's my advice to young residents, and it's very similar to yours. Take the 20 most commonly asked questions. I think do a video, actually. I did the Braces Minute series, and if you saw that, it's just a minute video.
Sure.
I sat in a room for 2 days and just did them off the cuff, made sure it was a minute. You don't have to do that. But then you can actually take those videos and have that transcribed into text.
Yeah.
And there's your blog. You've got your draft.
That's great.
Also, if you're drafting a blog, use it voice, because it gets you way closer than if you're sitting behind a keyboard. So a couple great tips. If you want to know about blogging as an orthodontist, check out Dr. Jorgensen. He's killing it. Your views, we won't share them now, but they're very impressive, unless you want to share them.
All I would say
Tens
is
of
this,
thousands.
We've done okay with it, and the reason mine has done so well is because I just write like I speak, and I write like for the consumers, not in our jargon, and that's what they want. They want it. They want to read answers they can understand.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for being on here. You did awesome. We're going to clap it up for you. Thank you, Greg.
Appreciate
Now,
what you're
where
doing.
is this Glenn Krieger character?
Hey, man,
let's clap it
how are
up
you?
for Dr. See you, everyone. Oh, he's attached. Hey, just come on in, and it's nice and warm here.
Hey, buddy.
How are you? Good to see you. This is Dr. Glenn Krieger. Well, the applause just keeps going, doesn't it? Stop. Yeah, stop. It's enough.
That's amazing.
Look
And
at all these people. You show up and everyone shows up.
how do you take the whole office with you? This is like amazing.
What's this?
You took the office with you?
I took the office with me.
Crazy.
It's traveled in a checked bag. I hate checking baggage. Checked 2 bags for this trip.
I know.
So many clothing options, but I don't have this, and I wish I did.
Would you like it? You can have it. It's
I
like
wish
a
we
magic
just
trick.
pull it out and it
Keeps
was
coming.
yeah,
And the best
exactly.
part about it is like being next to me is that my Eastern European greasy skin is going to make you look.
Look how greasy I look.
Yeah, you've been on this for an hour though, so.
Yeah, I look like I took a piece of pizza and just did this. So I was worried that you'd be comfortable talking on this, but I guess that was misplaced worry.
Yeah, I'm a little shy.
Let's just jump in. I think people know who you are, and I think people know that you were a general dentist for 21 years?
20.
20.
Yeah, they
I was
let me
trying
out.
to give you
Good
extra.
behavior. That extra year, it was time
You
served.
hit parole, yeah. So 20 years, and then you returned to orthodontics. What's been different about those two? General dentistry versus ortho?
Oh, it's ortho's so much more enjoyable. I mean, I love, unlike most of the folks I've met in ortho who absolutely thought the idea of being a general dentist the rest of their life would
Be miserable.
miserable.
Yeah.
I love general dentistry. The big issue for me is that nobody ever comes into my office and says, "Hey doc, I really like you, but I don't want to be here."
Yep.
I heard that every single day. It wears on you after a while.
Yeah, sure.
No more anesthetic. I mean, I don't get people numb.
Yeah.
No more scalpels, and everything I did in dentistry was resective. I cut something away. Endo, crown, filling, extractions.
Yeah.
We don't do that in ortho, and that really appealed to me. So, and last but not least, I got to be honest. I mean, they're here, they're watching. It is so much easier to make a living as an orthodontist than it is a general dentist. I'm saying apples to apples.
Sure.
There's
Yeah.
there's many models out there.
Yeah.
But everybody who shows up in an ortho office knows they have a problem and is at least interested in hearing about the issue and what you have to offer. In general dentistry, they come in because they need a cleaning and don't realize they need $20,000 in dentistry, and it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I never did the dentistry thing. I remember I went into dental school thinking I would be a general dentist. That's all I'd ever heard. But who had I talked to? General dentist. So what do you expect?
It's never too late, Kyle.
It's never too late to go back.
I can introduce you to people.
You know some general dentists?
I met one.
You met one?
Yeah, one.
But it was actually, I did not know about ortho. So at third year of dental school, I started to think about it. My wife had gotten a job at an orthodontic office, and I remember doing my first deep filling on a girl that all she had was deep cavities, right? And, oh, they're making an announcement. Good afternoon.
It's God.
God is female. That probably got you in trouble there, sorry.
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's okay. God is omnipotent, right?
It's true, yes.
She can be anything she wants.
God has a gender. Now I'm in trouble, theologically.
That's an anthropomorphism.
Yes. So where was I? Where was I into this until this lady interrupted us?
I don't know. You were telling me you did this deep fillings on a woman who was only deep fillings.
Yeah, I still remember her name, but I won't share it for HIPAA reasons. But it turned into a root canal, and she cried literally for 40 minutes when I told her what a root canal would cost at the school. And I was like, I hate this.
It's great.
And that was really what it was for me. I was like, no, I'm going to do orthodontics. I like that people have chosen to come see us. Yada, yada. Everyone knows
they're
this.
the chosen people.
We're the chosen people. All 144,000 of us. All right, let's move on. We could do this all day.
Yeah, we could.
Airway Orthodontics. I want to get into some controversy.
Sure. Hit it, baby.
Why do you think this is such a controversial topic right now? Let's just start there.
Oh, the why, I don't know.
Oh, great.
Well, so next question. So
how?
So the interesting thing about airway orthodontics, and there's been phrases: airway-friendly orthodontics, airway-centric orthodontics, looking at airway.
Airway-focused.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there. I think there's been some bad press that people believe I'm going to just give everybody an expander and solve their airway problems, and if your child has ADHD, I'm going to solve it with an expander. And the truth of the matter is, this has been well studied at really respected institutions like Stanford for decades, realizing that things like idiopathic nocturnal enuresis, kids were just wetting the bed for no good reason.
Bedwetting, yeah.
Kids were wetting the bed for unknown reasons at night. It's been tied significantly to airway-related issues. So, for instance, if we take out tonsils and adenoids and do expansion, the studies out of Stanford show that we'll see a significant amount of those kids improve considerably. But I think if the message comes out, like anything else, whether certain bracket types that have been lauded as they solve all problems, you'll never need an expander, right? Certain things that say we can do this better than that. There's always controversy when something new hits the market, until the masses have an opportunity to really play with it and try it. The truth is, airway-focused or airway-centric orthodontics, whatever you want to call it, is not something you dive into and say, I'm just going to start treating people. I read dozens of books, hundreds of papers, and had 3 mentors of mine try to slam me on the head and say, you got to start doing this, for over 9 years before I dipped my toe in that pool because I was so skeptical. And I don't think you just say, hey, by the way, tell me about this airway thing, what do we do? And I think that's the reason it becomes, because it's not solved like that. You have to be part of a team. You're not going to treat everybody, but you're going to refer them to the right person if, and only if, the symptoms indicate it.
Okay, so what are the 2 or 3 most important things, and based on that, which I think that's well said, and I agree with that, what are the 2 or 3 things that an airway-friendly orthodontist should be doing?
Okay, so University of Michigan, pretty respected university, unless you go to Ohio State, right?
We had Lisa earlier.
Yeah, so University of Michigan, the University of Michigan, sorry, I had to, Jorgensen over there, just had some fun. They have a great neurology department, made a questionnaire based on the literature that is recommended for all pediatric patients in medicine and in dentistry. Yet nobody does it. It's 7 pages long. It's licensed for free. You just have to go onto their website, look up pediatric University of Michigan Neurology Pediatric Questionnaire. You give the first page, and you sit down and you talk to mom or dad about their child. So that's the number one thing, is you've got to do a thorough history. Are they wetting the bed at night? Right? This is all from the questionnaire. This is not me saying we need to ask this. They recommend this. And the weird part is, you'll get 12, 13-year-old kids in your office who go to the pediatrician once a year, have never been asked these questions. So we are the gatekeepers. I'm not saying we have to solve it, but you're uncovered. I mean, if we really want to do the best for our patients, so does a child snore at night? Right? Healthy children should not snore at night unless there's a cold or an allergy. Do they snore at night? Are they wetting the bed at an age where it's not appropriate? Are they grinding their teeth at night, which is a little bit,
Is 35 inappropriate?
It depends. What did you drink that night?
Depends.
That's a good one. Depends.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. Are they grinding their teeth at night? One of the signs is when you put a child to bed in a well-made bed, you wake up in the morning and the covers are everywhere, right? Are they sleepwalking? Parasomnia, sleepwalking, night terrors. Not a nightmare, but night terrors. These are all linked in the literature really, really closely to airway or sleep disordered breathing. So we just don't treat them. We get them to our ENT. I have a CBCT, which is another controversial issue in ortho. For me, I look at the septum, the turbinates. I look at everything all the way up. And if I see a really deviated septum, but a child doesn't have a crossbite, I might not treat them, but they're going to the ENT. I have a myofunctional therapist. I'm looking at the tongue. Are they tongue-tied? And there's great literature to talk about when a child is tongue-tied. I'm not going to treat them, but I'll send them to the myofunctional therapist and the surgeon. So, we have this team that we've created that you go to courses together, you do reviews together, you do literature together, and the same way we work with our oral surgeons if I said I do cuspid-centric orthodontics, if it's an impacted cuspid, I'm going to send it to an oral surgeon. We don't have a problem with that. But it's the same thing for airway. I don't treat it.
That doesn't sell brackets, cuspid-centered orthodontics.
No, it doesn't. And I got to be honest, airway-centric orthodontics, it doesn't really sell ortho for me. I spend a lot more time with kids who don't have a problem than the money I make on the kids who do. You have to really want to treat it, which is why I'm so passionate about it. And just a quick aside, real fast, it's so little is known about it that my friend is one of the chief pediatric endocrinologists at Children's Hospital. I sent him a paper on nocturnal enuresis and expansion. He never heard about it. He got so excited, the next morning he sent me 9 other papers. He did a lit review that night, and now he wants me to come speak to his ENTs to sort of do a lit review. He wants an orthodontist to do a lit review for his ENTs at the hospital.
Wow.
Nobody knows about this, and that's the crazy part of it. So
now there should be more connection between us and ENTs, and what I have noticed is, like any pendulum swing, whether it's extraction, non-extraction, or as it pertains to pediatricians and ENTs, there was a time in the 80s where everyone got TNA, and now no one gets it. And I don't think pediatricians are like looking for it. They've got 100 things to look for.
Exactly.
But so I do feel like in some ways we can be the gatekeeper for that.
Exactly.
By doing what's very thorough. And I think also we talked about TMJ kind of specialists, quote unquote, and how you're not going to fix the TMJ issues, or TMD I should say, with just an NTI that you just buy off the internet. No. It's the same sort of thing. It's a very deep topic, and the more you get into the deeper you realize it is. I think airway is similar in that way. So there's not a bracket. A PSL bracket is not going to fix the airway, nor is a Haas expander.
No.
I think there's more to it. But let's move on. Henry Schein Orthodontics. They are here.
Over.
Somewhere there.
Over.
They probably have someone speaking right now.
That woman.
In competition with me.
I think that woman.
Is that who that was?
She was from Henry Schein.
It's always Henry Schein. So there's no question here that that group has taken criticism the last few years.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, some of it is perhaps founded. I think it echoes a little bit of another company with the PSL bracket that came in and it was marketing
passive self-ligating.
PSL.
Yes.
We don't say passive self-ligating anymore. It's all PSL, baby. No,
PSL. As opposed to an ASL.
Yeah, right. Acute lymphocyte. Never mind. So I think some of the claims are a little over the top. I think one in particular was about fixing full step class 2, 3 in a year with clear aligners. That for me is not routine. At the same time, it is a company that creates great products. I don't question that. And a lot of like really inspiring orthodontists are speaking for them. So with anything, there's a good and there's the bad, and then there's also some of that's maybe just bad PR. Yeah. Maybe people are choosing to pick on them. So I'm not trying to be unfair, but what are your thoughts on that company? What are your thoughts on some of the claims? Are there some of the claims you've been like, I don't know about that, or is it? So
I'm not the guy who's been speaking for companies for 20 years, right? I lectured for
25 years.
25.
Sorry, Glenn. I always interrupt.
It's okay. I love it. I love this guy. I love him.
I love this guy. He's a good guy. He's a good friend.
Hey, should I do the rest of this in my New York accent?
Yeah, you should.
All right, no problem.
No.
So anyway, forget about it. So I haven't been speaking for companies for 20 years. It's been a year or two, and the orthodontic space is a unique one, of course. But I don't know the culture of companies and how they work. All I can tell you is the relationship I'm in with them now is a good one. They treat me with respect. They never tell me what to say, ever. And that needs to be said out loud. Henry Schein Orthodontics has never once said to me, you need to say this, you need to push this, you need to push the 12-month treatment or anything like that. They've educated and educated and educated me more than you could imagine in courses I've gone to. I've gone to people's offices and watched them treat. So let's go to this 12-month treatment thing. There's two big things that Henry Schein pushes. The motion appliance, the carrier motion appliance, and the 12-month treatment. The motion appliance, it's kind of funny when I watch the arguments online because one of my biggest mentors, Dr. Malcolm Meister, in his 80s, former chairman of my department, wrote papers, brilliant man, one of the smartest people in orthodontics that nobody's ever heard of. He taught us in our first semester in residency about the 5 steps of global correction of a class 2 malocclusion, right? It's derotation of the upper first molar, distalization of the upper dentition, mesialization of the lower dentition, enhancing differential growth, and the postural effect. And he showed me papers back from the 50s, 60s, and 70s that showed this. So the motion appliance does that, and there's nothing controversial. And when you put an Essex appliance on the lowers, the same things that keep us from being able to move teeth, AP with aligners, is what holds them there with elastics. And you will find if you do it enough, you can't do anything with it you can't do with elastics. But you can do it faster and without side effects because it's segmental mechanics while you hold the lower teeth. So that one controversy is something that I just want to address real quick.
It's great.
12, so the reason...
that's why I asked.
Well, I know. And I told you to.
Yeah.
So the one thing about the 12-month treatment, why I said that first, is because that's the essence of their claim to the 12-month treatment. If we can get class 2 to class 1 in a relatively short period of time, then that leaves a lot of time for you to be able to finish. Now, I have seen dozens, if not hundreds, of cases, full step class 2 to locked in class 1 in 12 months, done by Dave Paquette, Jeb Pascal, Scott Fry, Luis Carriere, people who are really good clinicians. Now, I can and have, and I'm not going to show stuff online. People challenge me, show your cases online. Anybody wants to come to my office and have me open up cases, I'm thrilled to do it. But I'm not going to start showing stuff online. But
So why not?
I'm not comfortable with it. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I've been practicing for 4.5 years, and moreover, if you challenge me, you're going to get me shut down. Come to my office, sit down. I mean, anybody who's visited my office knows I'll show cases all day long. And I've even emailed cases to people when they've gotten a little loud to sort of show them. But I don't think the discussion needs to be about what I can do. Because I'm not the world's greatest orthodontist, nor do I claim to it. All I can tell you is I can show you many cases of taking full step class 2 to a full step class 1 in less than 4 to 5 months. I can show you cases of class 3 to class 1 in 2 to 4 months. I can do that. Now, I, at this stage of my career, am not able to finish a case from there in 7 to 8 months. Not because of the bracket. I'm not there yet. I'm still defining. I've worked in 3 different bracket systems in 5 years. I'm still defining my protocols, but I've seen Dave Paquette do it many times. I've seen John Graham do it. I've seen Jep. I've seen Scott. I've seen Luis. They've done hundreds and hundreds of cases, and I think if you're a good orthodontist who's really got a good finishing protocol in place, and I say, at 4 months, I'm going to have you class 1 locked in the posterior and the cuspid, and I want you to close up spaces and line things up, and you got 8 months to do it. Doesn't sound that unreasonable.
Yeah.
Right? Do I think some companies might push things a little loud? And I think there's also right now a bit of an anti-company bias out there in some, because there's been some claims in the past by other companies that have been made that were not substantiated, and I think many companies today are already sort of swimming up the river a little against the current, because they could have the greatest thing on earth, but until they truly prove it, they're not treated innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
And that sort of
there's that kind of anti-KOL mindset that's similar to. And it's tough because not everything can be studied in a lab, and not everything can be proven to reject a p-value.
You can't.
All I will say on that is it's very well said, and I almost didn't ask it, but
Please,
I'm glad I did.
Ask it. Come on, man.
Yeah. I've already asked it.
Oh.
Just that question kind of puts you on the spot on that. And I'm sure it won't be a satisfactory answer to some people, because some people are going to expect that, you should share your cases, you should stand up for it. But I'm in the same boat. Like, I speak for 3M, I said, like, I'm not comfortable speaking about clinical right now. I've been doing this for 6 years. Like, I'm just not there yet.
Exactly.
Can I talk about digital marketing? Absolutely.
Exactly.
Now, I talked about happy this morning. I'm not the happiest person ever, but
you are
I want to know about it more. Clinical, it's like there's some masters out there. Let them speak about
exactly.
it. And I will say, though, it's true. I think of like a Pitts or a Damon or a Derek Bach or whoever is like really good.
By the way,
clinically.
Anil, that's a drink right there.
Yes, that is a drink.
Anytime, Anil and I once said, when you had, I think, Chris Feldman on, I forgot who it was. Well, we were texting. Every time Derek's name came up, it was a drink.
There should be a drinking game.
It should be the Derek Bach drinking
game for this game.
Derek,
I hope you're watching this later.
The Derek Bach drinking game.
Drink to yourself.
But
it doesn't matter what bracket those guys are using. Is what I will say.
They'll finish with anything.
Yeah.
But I just want to add to that.
Yeah.
For the folks out there who are say, no way can you do it in a year. If you fancy yourself to be a really good orthodontist with good experience and you can finish well, and you think you can do that in 8 months, then yes, you can do full step class 2 to full step class 1 because in a year-ish. right? And we're sitting here getting bogged down in the fact that we're taking somebody's full class 2 to class 1 in 14 months, in 16 months. Like, historically, that's insane. And one day, I'll show as many cases as people want of the correction. I just can't finish it as fast. And that's on me. That's not on the motion. That's my point.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so probably more conversation that we could have on that, but hey, we're down to, I don't even know how many minutes. But you're ending the show, so I guess we can do whatever we want. I think it was an hour and a half limit on this thing.
And I'm not speaking, by the way, I'm speaking at the Henry Schein booth at 125.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a KOL, and it's, I'm sorry.
And that's a fair conversation too about KOLs and why some of that's come up.
It's a great conversation.
I think, which we don't have time for, but
no.
There are issues inherent in that. And I will also say that
when we do our co-podcast,
we'll do our co-podcast.
I spoke to Lance Miller.
Can we do it?
Yeah, we agreed we're going to do the 3 of us.
Yep.
But nobody's going to own it. It's going to be the Elevate Digital-preneur.
Okay. I'm game.
That's
I'm game.
Live podcast.
I would
show.
be honored to be a part of that and to co-own that.
Nobody knows who to ask questions of. And
so what are we going to do here?
I don't know. What do you think?
We'll just go by questions on the screen. A couple of real quick questions. Let's talk about Orthopreneurs. Obviously, you started Orthopreneurs. It's one of the biggest groups, and I love that group. And I'm also in the RD group, which is Regional Dominance. I wish I were more active. I feel like I have no time in my life.
We do what we can do.
We do what we can do. I will say this is not because you asked me or because you're on this show or whatever. It is an incredible group. There's a huge amount of value. You do a ton of CE events that are unique and that are special.
Thanks.
Even at the Orthopreneurs meeting in Dallas, there's a day with Jonathan and Maz that I'm flying down to. There's a dinner the night before at a really nice steak. I mean, there's no joke that you do practice what you preach in terms of taking care of people. So, quickly, what does RD cost, and what are 2 things that you feel like are the most valuable about it?
I'll give you the first part. Because, when you say the cost, nobody listens anymore.
Okay, so do the
right?
first
We learned
part.
that, right? We learned it. You never give praises cost up front. When I started Orthopreneurs, it was really just a place for us to get together. It was when that whole 101 thing exploded, right? And me and Brian and Jason actually created 3 separate groups. And I wanted a place where we could just talk about management, HR resources, stuff like that. And it became clear that there are a lot of people who just aren't comfortable sharing publicly. They don't want to talk about their best marketing secrets. They don't want to talk about how they hire the best employees or how they get the newest patients or what they do with SEO or whatever it may be, because they're afraid that in a large group of 4,000 people, the guy or gal down the block might be there. And so I created the RD group just out of a way to have like a closed place where you have geographic exclusivity, so nobody around your area can be a member of it, and you sign a non-disclosure. So technically, I guess, we can't even talk about it, right?
Oh, shoot.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a non-disclosure that's signed.
I hear it's great.
You heard it's great. So my point is there's a non-disclosure. So basically, whatever question you have related to anything in practice, everybody's willing to share 100%. And then I realized just a Facebook group, it's not worth it. Let's start doing webinars. So as you know, I started bringing in people once a month where you can do an interactive private webinar on anything from legal, HR, new appliances, new programs. And then I said, that's not enough. We need to create CE that's just for us. And then I started the Juan Moon hands-on. And I mean, yesterday we had Sean Holiday that I don't think I saw you there.
I have a few things going on.
I know. We had Sean.
You've done at least 7?
7 or 8. We had Sean Holiday for a full day on scalability of aligners in your practice. So at the end of the day, what does it cost? It's about $5,000 a year. It's the cost of 1 ortho case a year. I would argue, as the one who created it, that if you can't get at least 20 times return on investment on that money in the first year, there's something wrong. But also I have to say to everybody out there, for every 3 people who apply, probably 2 don't get in because of a geographic exclusivity, because that means the most to me. So if you're interested, just email me or find me on Facebook, because that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Just hit me up on Facebook and I'll give you more info and connect you with Mike Vidikin.
Well, I hate to end with plugs, but those are my last 2 questions. And I do believe in these things, or I wouldn't plug them. The meeting, last year's Orthopreneurs meeting was exceptional in Dallas. Man. I had a great time. You let me speak at it. And this year I'm coming back.
And you're going to be there in 2020? You're going to speak for me in 2020?
If you'll ask me, is this confirmed?
Okay. It's confirmed. I want happiness.
I'll be there as long.
I'm not happy.
I would love to give that lecture. I thought it was really good. So yes, it's confirmed, and we'll make sure. And if you take that back, then it's on film.
No, it's not.
Okay. It's September 12th through 14th at the Omni Dallas. Real quickly, because we're over time, give me 30 seconds on why I should go.
So the whole reason I created the meeting is I felt that when we were in residency and we went to Gorp, we were treated like kings and queens, right? And out in ortho, I didn't feel like that was happening. And so I created a meeting for grown-ups, so to speak, for Gorp, where Every meal is together at a 5-star kind of feel. The entertainment is going to surprise you. It's going to be so much fun and great speakers. But I want to be crystal clear that while we have great speakers, you were there last year,
Yep.
what goes on at dinner and at the shows and what have you, we sit and talk, that's where the real magic happens. And the theme is breathe easier, but people think it's all about airway. There's 5 or 6 airway speakers, but for the team track, it's all management. It's totally sold out. No more room at team track, unfortunately. Doctor track's about 85% sold out. I had a card on here which I lost, where it's 15% off if you get opsummit2019.com. You can still sign up. We're going to sell out in the next month, more than likely, but you should be there because it's a meeting where I get to take care of you, and you'll have a great time. And I promise you'll come back so energized about your practice. And if you don't, send me an email. Maybe we'll give them a free website.
No, we're not. We're absolutely not doing that. Greg Jorgensen will write a free blog for them.
Yeah, Greg will write a free.
None of these things are happening
No.
because you're going to have a great time.
You should come because it's going to be awesome, and we're going to have a good time.
And I'll be
tonight,
there.
tonight, are you going to the party tonight?
Which?
Game of Thrones party? Oh, you're playing drums.
Playing drums at the opposing party. We're supposed to bring this
okay,
up.
First of all,
Glenn.
there's no opposing.
I know it's not.
Brian and I have talked. Pearls and orthopreneurs are
colleagues,
good friends.
not competitors.
No, there's enough out there for everybody. But you're drumming for the Pearls party, so go watch him drum. He's amazing. And the Game of Thrones party.
I didn't know there was a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, we have a Game of Thrones party tonight. It's crazy. There's 800 people. 800 people have RSVP'd for a 400-person venue. So, you got to mention my name.
You're going to watch Game of Thrones?
No, we have like characters. All I know is I told my director 2 things. I told him 2 things. Spend every penny and then some, and don't tell me a thing. And all I know is I saw a Jon Snow outfit sitting on my couch today in my room. So I don't know
Are
what.
you Jon Snow?
I don't know, but tonight, May 4th.
Yeah, it is. May the 4th be with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
we should
so
have.
anyway-
I should have got a Star Wars mug. Missed opportunity.
But I got the Star Wars socks, so it's all good.
I love it.
There you
So
go.
we're going to wrap there. I don't know if you look like a Jon Snow, or I'm trying to think of another character that you
I
look
got
like.
the beard.
A little bit of
If
the
you
beard.
say the Samworth
hair.
beauty,
You're not Samwell, no.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
no way.
Tardy.
Tardy.
No.
Yeah, House Tardy, a proud house.
I'm the mountain.
No.
Inside, right here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a mountain in my heart.
This was fantastic. You did great. You can go over to your other thing. Thank you to everyone that's watching. I think
He's
most
amazing.
of the views, most of the views will come later. And so if you
Later than people who are watching it now are watching it?
Well, so it's the middle of the day. The AAO is going on, so I think a lot of people will kind of view in later.
But when they see it, they're going to be seeing it at that time.
That's right. In
So
the now.
later than that.
It's always in the now. Things always are. I don't know what's happening here. We'll edit this last part off. Just kidding. Great job. Thank you for being on here. It was a pleasure. Thanks for being agreeable to doing this.
Thank you.
Let's clap it up. Thank you. Yes. For Glenn Krieger, thank you.
Thank you.
Those are my free AAO glasses. Thank you very much. We will be back on tomorrow. Actually, don't leave just yet. I can't have you leave just yet. We have 4 more guests tomorrow. I'm going to try and say their names, and if I forget someone, I'm sorry. But no, I know who they are. We have the Maz and Kaz Hour, I'm calling it.
Maz and Kaz.
Mashiri, Jeff Kozlowski.
Wow.
They need to trademark that before
Maz
I
and
do.
Kaz.
And then we're having Sean Carlson, a good friend of yours, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we're having Dan Bills, who will be wrapping up and who introduced me this morning. So
That is
full
solid.
circle. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to go sleep immediately afterwards. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to all the other guests we've had tonight. It's today, it's afternoon, whatever it is.
Whenever you're watching this.
And to all of you at the AAO, hope you're having a great time, and we will be in touch soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.